Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The countdown keeps counting down in preparation for the League Cup final this Sunday. But today on the channel, we're going to take our attention away from that game specifically for a wee bit as we talk about the main man, the striker, the goal scorer, Kyogo Furuhashi, who's been speaking to the media today in relation to his future at Celtic. Let's have a look at what he had to say ahead of what is a huge game for him on Sunday. Welcome back. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It would be much appreciated. Yesterday's video got some tremendous support, so I appreciate that. Let's keep it rolling heading into this game on Sunday. Of course, content still to come. We've got the podcast that will be out on Saturday morning that you can listen to in preparation before that game. But today, we're going to talk specifically about the main man himself, Kyogo, who has been speaking to the German media for some reason. Now, do you know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea the purpose of speaking to the German media. I still can't find a reason. I've dug deep. I can't even find the actual, outlet that he spoke to, let alone the reason why he was speaking to them. But just a general interview, it seems. Kyogo's been speaking to the German media ahead of that game on Sunday, talking about his future at Celtic and being very humble. We know what Kyogo's like. He's a humble guy. He's always been, wee humble Kyogo since he came in. We love him. He's lovable in every way, shape and form. He's never been one with a big head or a big ego or nothing like that. And that carries over onto this interview. We'll go through it all today. But he has been speaking away and he's been asked about his future with Celtic. How long will we see Kyogo play for Celtic? Because this season, he has been unbelievable. He's been, easily the best striker in the league and one of the best players in the league. He's really built on what was a successful first season with the club, and with full fitness so far this season, he's just made himself even better. He's 2 times, 3 times, maybe 10 times the player that he was last year, and he's kicked on really, really well. And amongst that, you would probably expect to see him linked with clubs overseas or in England, but surprisingly, we haven't. He's probably one of the only players, there's probably some factors to it, he's probably one of the only players that we haven't heard murmurs of clubs being interested in him since he joined Celtic. We've seen, numerous players being linked away with moves. We've seen big players such as Juranovic and obviously Giakoumakis get moves. But Kyogo has been, relatively, he's been left alone, which is great for us. But he has spoke today in regards to his future at Celtic, and I think a lot of people will be happy to hear his comments. Not the Rangers fans, though. No, not the Rangers fans. If anything, they will be disappointed to hear some of Kyogo's comments because it sounds like he's going to be here for a wee bit. So this is what Kyogo had to say to the journalists in regards to his future with Celtic. He said this: "I want to be as successful as possible with this club. My focus is only on Celtic to be able to have the most possible success for this club. As a team, we want to win as many titles as possible, and as a personal goal, I would like to score 30 goals this season. But of course, I don't know what will happen in the future, so I just want to score as many goals as possible and contribute to the team's victory." So that was his comments in regards to his short-term future with Celtic. It doesn't look as though he's going anywhere anytime soon. He's kind of dusted off any thoughts of a transfer, but as he says, we don't really know where his future lies. It could be afar from Celtic, or it could be here for a long time. With 19 goals in 24 league games this season, Kyogo's running away with the Golden Boot and is having one of the best seasons we've seen from a Celtic striker in recent memory. He is on track to getting that 30 goals that he wants to get. I hope he does get the 30 goals. It would be magic. It's been a while since a striker's hit 30, I think, for us, so it would be great to see Kyogo do it. And amongst that, it's very surprising we haven't seen him linked with, all of these big moves. Now, there has been very minute, and should I say, when I say minute, I mean, I've only heard whispers of it over the past couple of days. There has been a little bit of talk of Crystal Palace and England looking towards him, but it seems like from this interview, what we've gathered is it looks as though he's maybe given interest like that a bit of a knockback for now. He's most focused on helping Celtic get to the league title, get to many more league titles, and he's happy where he is. A lot of people happy to read that. I'm of course one of those people happy to read that. And it makes for some interesting, reading in the sense that It's thought-provoking thinking of where his future will lie. Obviously, as he says in the interview, none of us know where his future lies. We don't know what happens in football. It's a topsy-turvy game. Anything can happen at the flip of a switch. Kyogo could be here 1 minute, the next minute he could be gone. But one thing I will say is, now being 28 years of age, and the form that he is right now, and being happy where he is, there's a great amount of potential there for Kyogo to be a long-term stay at Celtic right into, his later years. As he gets older, it's got to be a player that, in England, they're looking for younger forwards. They're looking for strikers who are, coming in 21, 22 years old to be mainstays for years to come. Kyogo is probably in his peak right now and probably will remain in his peak if he stays at Celtic, which is just fantastic for us because I would love him to stay here. He's 28 just now. If we could keep a hold of Kyogo till he's 30, 31, the next 2-3 years, I would be absolutely buzzing with that because I feel like he's still got so much more to give, and he touches on that in this interview. He wants to win more trophies, he wants to win more league titles, and he wants to ultimately contribute to the team. And as long as Ange Postecoglou is manager of Celtic, and obviously we don't know how long that will be, he's going to be the main man for him. He's going to be the main striker. He's going to be the guy who I think he turns to on most occasions, as long as he keeps this form up. And we know he can, because he came back from a big injury last season, picked up right where he left off, and as I said earlier in the video, he's went on to be twice the player this season. On that note, in the same interview, he goes on to talk about his current position at Celtic, his relationship with the rest of the squad and the staff. This is what he said in regards to that. He said, "I'm very grateful because I have great teammates, club staff and fans who will always support me, fans who cheer me on, a team of coaches who trust me, as well as teammates who fight for the ball with a lot of physical effort and create chances with wonderful passes. I want to repay everyone's trust by scoring goals, running a lot with and without the ball to help the team win." And then it goes on to talk about his concentration and trying to help us in the Champions League and trying to get good goals in there. Obviously, it didn't quite fall for him in this year's campaign, but I think he's hungry as a player to go on and try and do that with us next year. I think his attention, as soon as this season ends, will suddenly switch to next season and what we do next season as a team. I think he's very happy where he is at the minute. It's good to see an interview like this. The longer he is at Celtic, the better off we're going to be, because he's brought a dynamic to this team that we've never seen before. Like, we've had great strikers. We've been very lucky over the past decade. You could go back as far back as 10 years ago with Gary Hooper, to as recent as Odsonne Edouard, who was the predecessor to Kyogo. But from Hooper to Edouard and every striker in between, not one of them are similar to Kyogo as a player. It's a completely different dynamic. It's a very welcomed dynamic. He's revolutionised the way that we think of our strikers. We've been used to strikers like Edouard, Griffiths and Bailey in the last 5 or so years, who haven't, ran for miles and miles and miles and done us all this off the ball work. Suddenly he's came in, and I think that's what we want in a Celtic striker now. It's madness how he's kind of flipped the mindset and how we look at our strikers. And I absolutely love that, and I want him to be here as long as possible. The one part of the interview that I don't like, and I don't agree with, Mr. Furuhashi, is your humble side, saying that you're not a great player. That was his quote, ladies and gents. He said he's not a great player, and he wants to get better. However, in all seriousness, a tip of the hat to Kyogo for the kind of the modesty in his interview and the desire to be better. As I said, he's 28. He's probably in those peak years of his career. This is what most people would consider the peak years of a footballer, between 28 and 30. That's when you're meant to get the best of the best. But the fact he can recognise that there's still so much to do and another level to go up, it's great for us. It's scary for everybody else, because in our eyes, in my eyes, and the majority of Celtic fans' eyes, he is a great player. He's a modern day great player for this football club, and the way he's going to write his name into the kind of list of icons at this club. But this is what he said. This is his exact quote. He said, "Obviously, I'm not a great player, so I still need to keep working on my game and improving. My positional play, for example, or the timing when I offer myself for a pass, or that will be even more varied in my finishing. I keep working on those things in training so that I can implement all of these processes into the game in the best possible way. I think that if you were to have one criticism over his entire... Now, he's been here for, what, a year and a half now, just over that. I think if there was one criticism that folk would have of Kyogo, more in the first season than this season, was the big chances that he missed. Those sitters in big games, European games, even just normal league games, he could have probably doubled his goal tally, specifically in that first season. I think that would be the only criticism people really have of Kyogo. But he's certainly started being less wasteful. But I think that's the only thing that if he could have eliminated that from his game, and if he does eliminate that from his game, you're talking about potentially, and people have thrown about the phrase a lot, and I hate throwing it about, but the best since Larson. You know what I mean? But the fact that he realises that, the fact he's saying to himself that he's not a great player, where he can now take himself, if he just keeps working on these things in training, it's just more and more good news for us. Honestly, Kyogo, wee man, if you're somehow watching this video, I cannot express enough. I think you're more than a great player. I think you're a spectacular player. But, you know, the thought of him committing his future to this club, getting better as a player, the rest of the league should be very scared. And just to wrap it up, talking about this Kyogo interview and what it means for him and us at the moment, I think one of the big driving factors in this ambition to be better was probably that omission from the World Cup squad for Qatar 22. I think we as Celtic fans were all stunned and shocked to see that he wasn't involved in the 25-man squad for the Japanese national team. And do you know what? He was probably a bit let down and a bit shocked himself, because he's been fantastic for Celtic. He's been playing at the highest level in European football. And, you know, when he looks to his teammate, Dyson Maeda, who got picked, he might be thinking to himself, have I not worked hard enough to be picked? Have I not been good enough to get picked? So I think that's probably, and he touches on that in the interview, I think that has probably been a big catalyst within himself to try and get better, to try and be better. And post-World Cup, we've definitely seen that. So everything that he's saying in this interview and everything that's coming across and what he's trying to get across, I think we've already seen the evidence of that since the return from the World Cup. Because if you remember rightly, right before the World Cup, people were getting on his back. People were starting to doubt him, which I thought was ludicrous at the time, and I remember making videos about it. But since the return of the World Cup, he's just been on another level. Like, he's been unbelievable. I mean, his shots and his goals and his record altogether, you know, his goal conversion rate, 38%. In the league alone, that is, by the way. He's contributing to a goal every 74 minutes in the league. That is unbelievable reading. As I said, 19 and 24, running away with a golden boot. He has been just another level, just unlocked this new ability since the return of the World Cup. And I think that's probably been a real driving factor. And finally, if he wants to show it to us, show us Sunday, wee man. Because he will be playing on Sunday, but he will be starting probably. He's back. He obviously came off the bench last weekend. He's the on-form player at the moment. It makes a logical sense for him to start the game on Sunday. And I think that with him starting on Sunday, after this interview, for him to go out and maybe bag a goal or two would be absolutely magic. Listen, as summer approaches, we will probably see him linked with sides. We probably will hear of interest from England, from overseas, whatnot. But I would love him to stay here as long as possible, and hopefully what he says in this interview does kind of stick through, if you like. Anyway, that does it for today. Very, very close now to that game on Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully, with a video. I am busy tomorrow. And Saturday, the podcast will be live very early for you. A 4-man show, I'm hoping, as well, as we preview all things League Cup final related. We'll have a good laugh. We'll have the quizzes out as usual. So make sure to listen to that on Saturday morning. But for today and for me here now, that's that. And I'll let you go. Enjoy your night. I'll see you all next time.